So here's the thing about morning time, okay? Listen to my thoughts on the morning. In the morning, it's when we wake up. We start a new day. Yeah, there you go. You might want to turn around so everyone can see, because they might not know what it looks like for a kid to wake up in the morning. The sun rises. We get out of bed. Maybe we do some morning stretches. We can start the morning by saying thank you to God. Thank you, God. We are alive. We are breathing. Look what our bodies can do. We're so grateful. Morning can be a good time not just to open our eyes after sleeping, but to really open our eyes, to notice. Notice what's beautiful. Notice what's interesting. Notice what gives us joy. To notice is to pay attention, to observe with intentionality. And I believe noticing is a spiritual practice, not just for kids. In fact, noticing might just be the basis of all spirituality, how we connect to God, our Creator. This morning, I looked out my window, and I saw a yellow flower blooming in my garden. I just planted that plant a few weeks ago, and the flower was blooming, and it brought me joy. And I said, thank you to God. I wonder what you noticed this morning that caught your attention. Did God want you to notice something beautiful or good? This really is no small thing. For some of us, in the morning, we are with our families, but then we get ready to say goodbye. Okay? We might be off to school. We might be off to daycare or a summer camp. Some of us go off to work in the morning. But even if we leave behind our home or our parents for a few hours, we can remember that God will go with us everywhere we are headed today. God will be with us everywhere we go. We can even think, show me your best thinking. Yeah. We can think about all the places we might go today, and we can imagine Jesus walking alongside us. Yeah. Jesus promised his followers, I will be with you always. In fact, the morning is also a very good time to practice remembering what's important and true, like the truth that Jesus is always with us. In the morning, we can find ways to remember what is true. We can hold the truth in our hearts. How would we hold the truth in our hearts? We can keep the truth in our minds. We can even let the truth strengthen our bodies. True words from God can make us strong. We could maybe read our Bibles. We could take a word, a phrase, or a verse with us for the rest of the day, like God's love never fails, or God is my rock, or Jesus is with me all day long. When we look in the mirror in the morning, we can look in the mirror and remember the truth that we are created in the image of God. Every one of us. We are loved and we are lovely. How do you feel? What does it look like when you remember that you are loved and lovely? Yeah, it puts a smile on my face. We are worthy. We are valuable. And we have, each one of us, something to offer to the world. And when we walk out into the world, when we get those feet moving into the new day, we can walk with intentionality to remember the truth that each of us is able to choose love. Each of us is able to pursue goodness, and we can shine the light of Jesus wherever we go. With the help of God's Spirit, morning, noon, and night, we can do this. There are many ways we can remember that God is with us as we start a new day in the morning. We can say thank you to God. We can notice what is good and beautiful. We can remember what is true. And maybe, to help us do some of this, we could even sing a song. Psalm 59:16 says, each morning I will sing with joy about your unfailing love. In our house, we like to get songs stuck in our head in the morning. What does it look like when you have a song stuck in your head? songs about the goodness of God, about God's power and God's love, and we can carry that song into the day. So God is with us in the noontime. The middle of the day comes and the sun is high in the sky. A day like today, we might not see it because of the clouds, but the sun is high in the sky. This is the brightest time of the day. Perhaps halfway through the day, you're feeling bright and cheery as well. Maybe. But especially now in the summertime, if we are outside at noon, we might feel how intense the sun is. We might feel the heat. The middle of the day can leave us feeling exposed and vulnerable, like we need some protection. The sun gets in our eyes. We might start to feel sweaty or weary or tired. Even if we started out our day remembering and noticing God, sometimes once we get halfway through the day, we start thinking about lots of other things. We might be thinking about our work or our plans, what we've done, what we still have to do, where we've been, and where we're going. We might be thinking about our hunger. Is it lunchtime yet? What will we eat? Will we have an afternoon snack? Will it be any good? Halfway through the day, we might be thinking about the challenges that we've already faced today. Maybe a disagreement with a sibling or a coworker or a classmate. Maybe we're thinking about something that we really want, something that we're yearning for. We might be waiting for some screen time. We might be waiting for a break from work or from class. We might be waiting to reunite with our family or getting a chance to hang out with our friends. So where is God in the middle of the day? How do we become aware of God's presence when the sun is high in the sky? How do we remember that God is with us as we persevere through the middle of the day? The writer of Psalm 91 talks about God as a shelter. When the hot sun is shining down, and you have to know that the people who read the Psalms first really knew about that hot sun shining down. God brings some relief, some shade, a welcome shadow that cools us off. What do you look like when you cool off? When you feel refreshed? You get a moment of rest, and you get protection, protecting us from the worries that might be piling up halfway through the day. Maybe we can make a habit of always pausing for prayer when we start to eat our lunch, or maybe when we have our afternoon snack. That way we can remember that God is with us even in the middle of a busy day. Maybe when we find a shelter at a park, we spot a beautiful shade tree, or we grab an umbrella at the beach, or a cloud casts a cooling shadow in the middle of a hot day, we can think of God, our shelter, our refuge, our place of safety. God is the shadow where we can rest, where we are protected. Psalm 121 says, "The Lord himself watches over you." What would it look like for God to be watching over all those people out there? Oh, I like that. The Lord watches over you. The Lord stands beside you as your protective shade. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon at night. The Lord keeps you from all harm and watches over your life. The Lord keeps watch over you as you come and go, both now and forever. At noontime, when we are coming and when we are going, and we're coming and we're going, no matter where we are, no matter what concerns have begun to fill our day, fill our mind, God is still with us, and we can rely on God to carry us through the day. Even if we go through hard stuff in the middle of our day, God meets us right where we are. In fact, the Bible tells us it was the middle of the day that Jesus gave up his life on the cross. All the power of sin and death and the devil went to the cross with Jesus and died. And he overcame it when he rose up from the dead in the morning. So we can persevere through the middle of a tough day with our eyes on Jesus, who gives us hope, who loves each and every one of us and comes alongside us as a friend and gives us new life. In the middle of the day, we can remember that God is a shady shelter protecting us. We can remember that Jesus suffered in the middle of the day, and he will carry us through no matter what we're going through. No matter what comes, God will make a way. Every day comes to an end, right? Every day eventually comes to an end. The sun that rose in the morning was high in the middle of the day. The sun finally goes down, and our bodies tell us that it's time to rest. All right, maybe go a little farther from the microphone there, bud. Our bodies tell us, maybe our parents tell us, that it is time to rest. God created us with these cycles, morning, noon, and night, waking, working, resting. We are made to experience all these things through the day. And God is with us all the way because God created it all. Psalm 74:16 says, "Both day and night belong to you, O God. You made the starlight and you made the sun." God is with us as we come to the end of the day, as the moon rises, as the sky darkens. It might get a little harder to see outside, but then the stars start to appear in the sky, those twinkling stars. God makes even the night beautiful in its own way. And one beautiful gift of the nighttime is the gift of rest and sleep. Nighttime is a good time for us to remember that we cannot do everything. Sometimes this is a little more lesson for those of us who've been trying to do things a lot longer. You'd think it'd be the other way around. But we remember when we come to the end of the day that we do not have limitless energy. We cannot keep going forever. That's not how God made us. We must at some point stop and rest. Do you think you could do your acting a little farther from this microphone? You're just making me a little worried, bud. There you go. We remember that God is God and we are not. Okay? Be still and know that God is God and we are not. Nighttime is a good time to look back on the day, to think with our thinkers and our hearts, and even our bodies. Think about what we went through today, about the highs and the lows, the moments that made us feel fully alive, maybe close to God, truly grateful. But we can also think about the moments that felt frustrating or hard, moments when God didn't feel so close by. We could imagine that we're holding these moments in our hands. Maybe we even just take one moment that really stands out, and we hold that moment and we can give it to God in prayer. We can say thank you for the blessings that God has given. We can ask God, what are the opportunities to learn and grow from any challenges we faced today? Sometimes the end of the day is a good time for a longer chat with God, to talk to God about what's on your mind, to ask for help. Maybe you'd write down in a prayer journal or use an audio recorder for an audio journal. As we settle down at the end of the day, we might take some deep breaths. Even scientists say that God created those deep breaths to help us calm down. God is the one who put breath in our lungs, and breathing deeply with God can be a wonderful way for us to pray and find peace with God. Sometimes as we try to go to sleep at night, the worries of the day are still hanging around, we can take deep breaths and say those words from the psalm, "Be still and know that I am God." We could breathe in and say, "Be still," and breathe out and know. We could take deep breaths and say with the psalmist from Psalm 4:8, "I will sleep in peace because God keeps me safe." I will sleep in peace because God keeps me safe. People have been praying those words for hundreds of years, thousands of years. And many Christians might pray over and over while they breathe in and out. We call it breath prayer. You should give it a try. Psalm 121 says that God watches over you all night long. God doesn't need to sleep. God doesn't need to rest. God set an example for us by resting. But while we sleep and while we rest, God keeps working. And God is a lot better at taking care of all the problems with the world than we are. All night long, God is working while we do what we're supposed to do and rest. So when we come to the end of the day, we can be still and remember that God is God. We remember that we are created to rest at the end of each day and that we can trust God to keep us safe while we sleep. At the end of the day, we can review our day and hold it up to God in prayer. At the end of the day, we can calm ourselves with deep breaths or try a breath prayer. We can also end the day with a song